This episode of Bonfireside Chat is brought to you by our Patreon backers. If you head on over to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv, you can join them and see all the cool rewards you can get for lending us your support. We really appreciate it. So head on over to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv.
Some of our landings were desperate adventures. We are now prepared to meet the inevitable counterattacks with power and with confidence.
My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Kole Ross.
You're listening to Bonfireside Chat. For the last time, it is a cursed favorite.
Yes. And this week we are reading your responses to the Scholar of the First Sin remake of Dark Souls 2.
Mm-hmm. And we've been recording for a while, so we're going to get right into it and finish saying goodbye to this entry in the series. Joe via Facebook says, what the hell is a Vangarian? It's Varangian. Varangian, it's based on the kick-ass Viking Anglo-Saxon Viking. It's kick-ass Viking. I know a guy who can get you some kick-ass Viking and Anglo-Saxon mercenary bodyguards. They are sleepy but strong. Of the Byzantine Empire. So
Sleepy but strong
is the Vicodin way.
Huh. Yeah. So yeah, I didn't realize that the Byzantines hired the Saxons and such. That's pretty cool.
I had no idea. I know how it's spelled. I just transpose two syllables as I do.
I feel like I'm guilty of that too because man. So our lapsing memories of Dark Souls 2, I swear that it's not just me slipping. Like I'm actually doing some weird performance art, kind of like going hollow and just forgetting everything that I had learned and fulfilling my sole purpose, which is to talk into a microphone, no matter how inane it is. I swear somebody called us out on this before for the Varangian thing, because even in like regular conversation with people, I will say Vangarian. And I think it's because I just want to say your name, Gary.
Oh, thanks, bud.
Yeah. High five.
Yeah, it is like how I kept saying coal mine in the last episode.
Yeah.
I will transpose syllables.
Yep.
It's just a thing that I'll do sometimes.
Wait a minute, you're human?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't need an excuse for this. Not that you're not calling me out harshly, but that's all it is. It's not intentional.
Yeah.
And I know that your call out is in the spirit of correction, not in the spirit of making fun.
For example, I may have known at one time that the Varangians were a Byzantine sect, but now I know it, and I'm going to. I sure as hell can say that I'm going to read that Wikipedia entry. So.
Yeah. Yep. It'll be in the show notes.
Mm-hmm. Let's go to the actual responses. Thank you, Joe, very much. So Jeremy Greer, our friend, writes in via the contact form saying, just a quick list of things I love about Scholar. Number 1, only has one cat. Cat is not as ugly as Gary's cat. Maybe this was in Vanilla Dark Souls 2 as well. I can't
remember how this started, but it's this Twitter thing where I make fun of noted fuckwit Jeremy Greer on Twitter, and he makes fun of my cat in like the least true thing about my cat.
Yeah,
like you can make fun of my cat for so many things, but he's not ugly.
No, he's adorable.
Yeah, he's very cute. Like he's loud. Mm-hmm. And he pukes too much.
Like your average frat boy.
Yeah, but he's beautiful like your average frat boy. So I don't know where this chuckle fuck gets off. But
I mean, so as somebody who has seen like the sniping, I always took it as casual, good-natured ribbing. But I just as a casual outside observer, I don't know, like making fun of your cat seems like dirty pool.
It is like it feels like dirty pool is weird to me. It is the single thing that I love more than anything in the world.
Yeah.
So that's why he's doing it. It's my weakness. It's my Seath crystal.
And maybe I say it's dirty pool because I know how much you love your cats. So
yeah, it is, and it is. It's fine. Like it is good for people who are going to die alone to find things to occupy their time. And I'm glad Jeremy has found something for him.
Jesus
so
Christ.
You take that, Mrs. Greer.
I don't want to be in, like, remind me never get in the crossfire of this because I couldn't handle it. That's funny. And there's Dear Diary, Gary and Jeremy are jerks.
Well, it is an arms race kind of thing too. Like it is there's part of me where it's just like, oh, that's really mean. Like, how can I be meaner? And that's not a good response to thing. If only I had been coddled by Barney more as a kid. If I was a true millennial, I wouldn't have that thought of like, it's mean. How can I one up that? But that is my first instinct. Like, I'm not proud of it. It's not my favorite thing about myself, but it's true.
It's a game. It's a game that you both know you're playing. So
it is true. It's just at some point we're gonna like hurt each other's feelings.
Yeah,
or like, he's gonna end up coming to Portland, and then like I'm gonna just have a bunch of drinks in me, and he's just gonna say something, and then it's just gonna be
I'm gonna have to break up the fight. Like, no,
yeah,
Mom, Dad, stop.
Yeah.
But that's only number one. Thankfully, it's the only shot at your cat.
I appreciate that too.
Number 2, Bashful Ray. Y'all mentioned old BR, Bashful Ray, in the first Scholar episode, but I want to talk about some of his behavior. He's a ninja and pretty good at dispatching various hollows without much trouble. When not in combat, though, he breaks out his binoculars and kinda looks around the environment. What is he doing? Well, maybe the clue is in his name. He's a bit too shy to take the levels on his own. So like a lot of people, he drops his sign down to get a handle on the level while helping somebody else out. That way, there's not as much risk from dying as there would be usually. For whatever reason, the NPC summons / invasions introduced by Scholar caught my imagination. Number 3, 60 frames per second. Going from the 360 version to the PS4 version was so great. It doesn't really matter that much, but it's the only Souls game that I've managed to play with a solid frame FPS the entire way through, being that I'm almost exclusively a console guy, especially compared to the lengthy load times and sporadic stuttering of Bloodborne.
It does run silky smooth.
Yeah, it's really good. Like, It's bizarre to think that I play this on the same machine that Dark Souls 2 was. So, like, we commented on this, but saying, like, going from console to PC, Dark Souls 2 was a big step up. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And then from the DX9 to DX11 version, even crazier still.
Yeah, absolutely. And we didn't mention the frame rate, but that's a big part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So Jeremy, fuck yourself. Thomas says via contact, as a fellow white Haydnite of Dark Souls 2, I actually went out and picked up Scholar shortly after I finished Bloodborne. Bloodborne was a really fun ride, but I missed the replayability and online scene of Dark Souls 2. I was expecting mostly changes to enemy placement and behavior, and that's pretty much what I got. Good. Just about every time I came across something new, I was shocked, challenged, and amused. My smiles when the mannequins flipped up from the ledges to take my head off was priceless. Oops, all pursuers in the Bastille. My shock at the Ghost Battalion expanding their ranks further in the woods was great. The undead soldiers stabbing at the giant trees was a nice touch, but the non-aggressive enemy behavior award goes to my buddy in the Huntsman's Copse, jogging his way to even skinnier legs for all eternity. Do you think that's why he hollowed? Just straight up running from the fatties and beanpole torturers all day, every day. And now he can't stop. Less funny, but maybe true. On a critical note, I didn't care for the Forlorn very much. There are better invasions that the DLC and Scholar added, and these guys just felt like weaker versions of the Dark Knights. Kind of a bummer. When I saw the box art for Scholar, I figured these guys were going to be crazy tough and lore significant. I think I'd rather have had a few tweaked versions of the Pursuer pop up more often. That's about my only complaint, though. I think anyone who played vanilla Dark Souls 2 will find a lot of surprises here that'll make them smile, and new players will find a more difficult and complete experience than those that came before them. 9.5 Pursuers out of 10.
This is a great response. I can find something to respond to in every paragraph here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So like the Forlorn, something I don't remember commenting on last time was the fact that there are 2 models of the Forlorn.
Yeah. We didn't mention that.
Yeah. So there's one with the hey Roars.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Jeremy.
He knows.
I'm saying that for Gary. Nah, you're cool. Thank you for participating. No. But there's the one with the great sword, and then there's the much harder one with the scythe that will break your shield and your armor.
Yeah. We talked about it. The thing that I like about the Forlorn is the unpredictability.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right as far as the fights. Like, there are no great shakes.
Yeah.
So that's for sure true.
I love the idea that the mannequins are out to take your head.
Yeah, and wear it for themselves. That's really cool.
Nice head. I think I'll take it.
Yeah, well, it's like the Fireys in Labyrinth.
Mm-hmm.
I went and saw Labyrinth in the theater again, which is like Bloodborne as shit for the first part, but it also has the Fireys, which are the weirdest guys. Yeah. How long has it been since you've seen Labyrinth?
Probably about like 10 years.
You remember the orange guys?
Mm-hmm.
who want to take your head.
Yeah.
And like they say dark things like she's got 2 ears. She doesn't need 2 ears. Like that's what those things are like.
Such a dark movie.
It's dark and nonsense, but I still love it. It's like really imaginative.
Mm-hmm.
We forgot about the little running guy in the Huntsman's House. We forgot to mention that guy, but there's a guy who just runs from you, and you maybe didn't see him, Cole, because if you tip him off, he will get away from you.
Huh.
But there's just a guy who runs at like double speed and tries to get away from you, and it's really comical. He's
like where's he at? Like what's his route?
He starts off in that first area after you get kind of through the first fort.
Mm-hmm.
And you go past that first or the second bonfire in the area, and the little crossroads that leads to the purgatory and onto the skeleton lords.
Oh wow!
And that first area is where he's at.
Yeah, I didn't see him at all. I like I like the idea of an undead Forrest Gump.
Oh yeah,
I just kept running. And then once I reached the dragon's area, I turned around and ran back.
Yeah,
ran back to the Iron Keep. But also I like the idea like, if he served like some kind of purpose, like as like a Paul Revere, like he's the scout. He's like, hey guys, fresh meat coming in, and like ran and aggroed that stuff and tipped them off.
Yeah, whenever there's a guy that shows up, the way that he runs and moves and stuff, and I hate that I knew this, but back in the day when it first came out, like I watched Family Guy a little bit.
Me too.
I'm not proud of it. I don't like that show. But there's the
I had a
greased
lot
up
of good
deaf
times
guy in
watching.
that show.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what it reminded me of, is the greased up deaf guy. Like that's what he looks like and how he runs.
Yeah.
So it's not my favorite thing, but it is.
It's not your favorite thing about yourself that you watched a show back when. Yeah.
Yeah, back when I was a kid and it was animated, I'd watch anything. I watched when I was little. I watched the Opposites Attract video by Paula Abdul, like repeatedly, because it had cartoon content.
Yeah,
that's all. I saw Cool World in the theater. Like I just like cartoons, guys.
That's worse than the Family Guy thing.
It's a worse thing, but it's more culturally insignificant now.
Yeah,
like there's no analog. Like you could say, like I could say, like, oh, this guy seems like he likes Family Guy a lot, and that says something about somebody.
Mm-hmm.
If you're just like, this guy seems like he really loves Cool World, like what does that say about them? Like what? That's not an archetype. Like,
can we make it one?
Yeah, just like that guy's really sipping on Lakini's juice. He looks like he loves Cool World.
Yeah, no, I liked Family Guy when I was in high school. Like that was fine.
Yeah,
like I also watched a lot of Fight Club.
Yeah, me too.
And read Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas religiously. Like it's all a thing.
Guys, authors are bullshit. But have you heard about Bukowski? He tells it like it is. He pisses in a bucket. It's cool.
But Bukowski was Bukowski. Like this is LA Noir. Bukowski was more of a college thing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I went back and forth. It was like Bukowski and then John Berryman. Like pick a tone, Cole, for God's sake.
I'll pretty much read anything by anyone who shits exclusively in a bucket.
Yep.
Like if you can show me some bucket ID, I'm gonna read your book. Yeah. So do you want to tell us what Sean has to say?
Yes.
I believe this is you.
Yes. Sean wrote in via the contact form to say, admittedly, I've not played through Scholar of the First Sin, having only tackled the first few areas. Coming out around the same time of Bloodborne was both a blessing and a curse for those with PlayStation 4s. While it was great to have another solid reason to own a PS4, I simply didn't have the time to dig into 2 Souls games at once. Even if I did, I found trying to simultaneously play Bloodborne and Scholar to be a difficult experience from a gameplay perspective, as my habit of darting around nimbly in Bloodborne does not translate well into Dark Souls 2, given the much larger stamina cost of rolling and agility investment required to create a similar experience. Regardless, my experience up to the Lost Bastille has been amazing. I don't think From has been given enough credit for how lovingly they redesigned the world and experience of playing Dark Souls 2. Claims of cash grab and other cynical comments fall squarely on deaf ears after experiencing what was clearly a love letter to fans and devotion to creating truly great video game experiences. The highlight thus far has been No Man's Wharf. I already thought No Man's Wharf was among my favorite areas in any Souls game, and changes made to Scholar only solidified and strengthened that claim. The darkness is now a real obstacle in the level, and protecting the torch-wielding Hollow created an objective unique to the Souls games. The new arrangement of enemies made the area feel totally new, and the placement of the Bastille jailer on the ship was a small but thoughtful touch that helps the world feel that extra bit connected. That makes a huge difference to immersing myself in the world. Once I am satisfied with my time in Bloodborne, I fully intend on returning to Scholar of the First Sin and seeing what other delightful changes await me in Drain Lake.
Mm-hmm. Well said.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have very much to add to that. That's just, I agree.
Yeah.
That's how I feel too. The cash grab stuff like drove me nuts. If you already owned Dark Souls 2 on PC, it was $20 for Scholar. They give you an upgrade price, which is like really kind of them.
Yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and all the patch content and stuff was free.
Yeah.
Which also made a big difference. Like they just added a new boss fight and, new story stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just for everybody. So I know it doesn't seem like a cash grab to me.
Yeah.
It's funny, like people will be so like gamers will be so protective of their wallet when I know that like, when they will be so cynical about that stuff. And then at the same time, like there's such a built-in defense against that. That's called like waiting a month for almost everything, like maybe more than a month, but like prices go down so quickly in games unless things by Nintendo usually.
Mm-hmm.
So like when people get so mad about that kind of stuff, it's like you could save this money 100 times over
Mm-hmm.
with a modicum of patience.
Yeah.
Like you would triple your game playing budget
Mm-hmm.
just by chilling out a little bit.
Yeah. And exactly, like a principle is only as strong as you feel it when it's inconvenient to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so like the fact that there's like that you can't stand that month's inconvenience, so you're holding on to it. And I'm not gonna like throw shade at somebody who has like legitimate budget concerns and they're really excited about this new thing. Like you can be upset about it, but like I don't know, like just like the fact that it turns from individual sentiment into like a groundswell that kind of taints a whole thing and kind of like controls the narrative is a little bit frustrating.
Yeah, I agree with that. So Take says via contact, oh man, it's so good. I've never seen an HD remake redone with such care and thought put into it. Sure, from a lore perspective, I'm running around going, wait, what are you doing here? But from a gameplay perspective, it's given me the terror of the unknown again. And I love that. Every area so far feels like it's got a new surprise personally tailored just for me. Companies should really look at this as a shining example of how to do an HD remake. It doesn't apply to all HD remakes, of course, but perhaps they should try to make something functional of the gameplay improvement, something functional or a gameplay improvement, rather than just make the graphics look pretty. Agreed there.
I agree. So
Yeah,
it's funny, like something we talked about a lot in the first episode of this, or in the first season of this series, was the idea of knowledge compressing space.
Mm-hmm.
That's just like a principle, maybe not so much of the design of this. Like there's a little bit of a nod to that mechanically of, like the shortcut and the ever tightening concentric circle of a bunch of these, level designs, things we talk about a lot. But this is a rare situation, like outside of maybe even just like New Game Plus in Dark Souls 2 a little bit, where that space has been uncompressed.
Yeah.
Right.
Which you also want, like the, having your space uncompressed, like, because that's essentially the dopamine squirt you get with the new area in a ways.
Mm-hmm.
Is like, oh good, an uncompressed space.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what this gives you.
Yeah.
So agreed.
Agreed. Let's see here. Trey writes in via contact saying, hello. As a fellow Dragoon/Lancer fan, the change of having the Grand Lance available at the beginning of the game was a very welcome surprise. With my lance in hand, I set out to fight the bosses I knew so well, only to find that the world I thought I knew was gone. There were new dangers around every corner, and finding new threats in areas I thought were safe was an amazing feeling. I had walked these halls so many times, but like going back to the place where you used to live, it felt slightly off. The new enemy placement and movements have the very thing that made me love Dark Souls 1. Every enemy tells a story just by where it is and how it moves. Every weapon placement is important lore-wise.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that quite as much, but the actual weapon placement is a little bit better.
Yeah.
Like we didn't call out every instance of where there's new items because it would be exhausting. But they are better and make more sense.
Yeah. So we, there was a document that I referenced a lot in making the notes for this, kind of like combining my own notes with the internet at large. There's like a big Google Doc that has like all of the known changes around this, and I called out the ones that felt like they made a change that was appropriate to the area, or just like did something that made more sense with the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we just didn't mention that. As things like those individual things, because it's such a small detail, but that's why it's worth pointing out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if we had brought up all those, we would have been here forever.
Mm-hmm.
But they did make a big difference to me as well.
Yeah.
And I'm jealous of people who are playing it for the first time who actually get to pick up an item in a place and get information from it, other than just, an information about another part of the world that has nothing to do with where they're at. Clint says via contact, I took your advice, Scholar over vanilla Dark Souls 2, and I'm glad I did. I feel like I'm playing the finished version of the game, even if the surprise Flexile Sentry in Sinner's Rise made me shit a little.
I'm back.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey man, if it's in a bucket, let me know. The health cap mechanic spoils half the fun. It removes the ball sweating, nothing to lose rage of repeated Ornstein and Smoke Kamikaze, my favorite aspect of Dark Souls 1. But there's a silver lining. My epic effigy stinginess led me to co-op a ton just to get my HP pool back. And you can get summoned so fast. Since Dark Souls 2, I made no less than 3 Sunbro characters in Dark Souls 1. It's my cocaine. Thanks to y'all, I've drunk from the Kool-Aid. I eagerly await Dark Souls 3. For the first time, I'll be playing along as the episodes come out. Super pumped. Bonfireside Chat convinced me to go into Dark Souls 3 spoiler free, and sell plasma until I can afford a PS4 for Bloodborne. Seems appropriate.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you very much for the kind words. It's funny because if it was you, Gary, and possibly if it was me, or the other way around, that recommendation came before I actually played Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin. So I forget who told Clint to play this version of it, but yeah.
Yeah. Who knows where it was. I ended up playing it when it came out, but then I had to replay it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I was just I needed to play something familiar.
Yeah.
It was that kind of thing, and I'm glad I did.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it is, the connectivity is something that we don't spend a lot of time with because we don't do a lot of co-op, but it is like the PvP scene right now is in Dark Souls 2 still.
Yeah.
Like people who do Dark Souls 1 PvP, Bloodborne PvP is a little bit stillborn. Excuse the the reference or the appropriateness of that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Dark Souls 2 has really good PvP and co-op functionality. So it is very fun to get summoned and to summon in that game.
Yeah. We have one more response like that. Derek writes in via the contact form saying, I'd only played through the original Dark Souls when I first embarked on my Scholar journey because I got started on the series so late that Scholar was announced before I finished the original Dark Souls. After starting Scholar, I switched to complete Bloodborne on my new PS4. And Derek gave us kind of a rundown of each of the areas in the game. And he told me that we could edit this, which we often do for a lot of these responses for content. I'm going to hit kind of the two that were kind of highlights out of this. Mm-hmm. So, Brightstone Cove Seldora seems like it was designed to terrify arachnophobes. Walking into an area with passive spiders wasn't enough to lure me into a false sense of security, but I was still terrified to get mobbed by them later. I hated the mage barrage in the middle of the level, but after I got back to Spider Hell, I was really enjoying myself being creeped out. About the Shrine of Amana, I have the utmost respect for true Dark Souls 2 veterans. I can't imagine this area being harder. What the fuck? My melee character got magical barbecued way too much and ended up despawning enemies before clearing the chasm to the last bonfire. I was annoyed because I was having problems with the boss. I beat the boss in someone's world, but I never got a summon for mine. I ended up clearing the area before the boss with my NPC summon so I could bring him to the fight. I feel mildly justified when I have problems with a boss, but this one felt like it should have been easy.
Yeah, it's not. We talk about just the second one first. Like we talk about this in I'm fond of saying this, but like I don't feel like there's universal difficulties for Souls bosses.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is different bosses will get different people. Like the example I keep coming back to is when we played Dark Souls 2. Like Cole had a really hard time with Freya, which I didn't have, but I had a hard time with Vendrick. And Vendrick is considered to be one of the easier bosses in the game, but I had a really tough time with it, and Cole did not. And then Freya is considered to be hard, and I just didn't have that hard of a time with it. Yeah. So it just comes down to your play and kind of what you're bringing, and then also just RNG too. Like if you get 2 or 3 bad patterns in a row, it can make a boss feel a lot harder than it is.
Yeah.
So don't feel bad about thinking the Demon of Song is hard. Like. Yeah. Nobody's judging you. I mean, there are people judging you, but they're shitheads online. So,
yeah, have some empathy. Remember that. Remember your first time.
Exactly.
Yeah. Round us out with Emily.
Emily says by contact, Aldia's dialogue suggests that the physical body of men is a result of the Lord of Light banishing the dark. This sounds familiar to me. After the chosen undead defeats Manus in Dark Souls 1, the shards of his splintered body grew into the human daughters. So we know that the shards of Manus can form into physical beings. So take that a step further. What if all humanity, Manus included, are shards of the original Dark Soul that formed into physical beings after the Dark was banished? We've seen what pure humanity looks like in the universe. It's black, intangible, floating, cloud-like voids. I think it's implied that this is humanity's true form, and that being a creature of flesh and blood is just a fascinating illusion that we cling to. Linking the flame grants peace and prolongs the flesh and blood illusion a little bit longer. Otherwise, we're destined to return to the nebulous dark. What I still struggle with is Eldia's implied third option: light, dark, or something else entirely. Beyond the scope of light, beyond the reach of dark, what could possibly await us? Eldia asks ask us to look around at what has always been presented as the natural order of this universe, the cycle of light and dark. Well, what's left? Given that Aldia is the scholar of the first sin, would that be chaos? Is chaos the union of dark and fire, or the absence of both? I have no goddamn idea. True to form for the Souls series, this extra content has left me with more questions than answers, but the questioning has been so much fun.
So yeah, this makes me curious what's going to happen with Dark Souls 3, because from the things I've seen, and Gary, I've peeked, from the things I've seen and kind of a few of the interviews that I've read, the link between 2 and 3 is going to be closer than the link between 1 and 2.
That's interesting to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because I didn't want them to do the Deus Ex 2 thing and just sweep it under the rug. You know, like it's a little light sequel. Let's pretend it doesn't exist. So I'm really happy about that. So Emily's response, the first part of it, she is referencing this, I think, but doesn't quite draw the line, is that the idea that humanity is always part of people, and that's always been part of Dark Souls 1. Her idea, what she's saying is that Aldia's dialogue lends the idea that it's literally an illusion, because he has a lot of lines about that, of like this frail illusion of life that people cling to, and the like he has lines that specifically reference it.
Yeah.
So I think, and that's a really cool idea, like having this as opposed to being, because you get lured into this sense of, I don't have to consider Dark Souls 1 in the light of Dark Souls 2. You know, but if you do, like, it does open up some interesting thoughts. And because there are unanswered questions in Dark Souls 1, but they're not, like, there are a lot of tantalizing mysteries, but there are theories for them.
Yeah.
You know, it's not as open and shut as Bloodborne. There are fewer questions I don't actually think have answers, which is the Dark Souls 2 thing. There are more things that have kind of a leading theory, but there are lots of different answers.
Yeah.
And the Aldia dialogue does lean, can help kind of tip those scales, I think.
It's kind of funny, right? Because like at least in Dark Souls 1 and the narrative that they set up with the souls kind of animating these hollow beings, and those hollow beings being the natural state, right? There are kind of two things that breathe that divine spark into them, right? So there's the idea that everybody is kind of coveting these souls, but also humanity is what makes humans human. That sounds like a goofy statement. So what role does the souls serve in this?
Yeah, I don't know, other than currency. Like, it doesn't, it's very weird.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that. I will address like the final thing. I always thought that the first sin that Aldia is the scholar of is linking the fire, is interrupting that cycle at all. And that's the conclusion, that third way, beyond the scope of light, beyond the reach of dark, is him just saying, like, yeah, you know, the first time you link the fire, it does kind of start this cycle, but, after the primordial ooze and the like. But what if we do a third thing? I don't think it's necessarily chaos.
Yeah.
I think it is just literally like, hey, let's keep looking. Like, you get these crowns, like, we can stop from going hollow at this point. Like, I've done these experiments in immortality. Like, I've created these things, and in order to keep learning, we don't have to know yet.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I really want from Dark Souls 3. Like, if Dark Souls 3 fails to address that at all, I'm going to be so bummed out.
Yeah. I want Dark Souls 3 to bring back a little bit of that, like those different primordial forces, right? Like, we talked about how the tomb is about dark, and how the the Lost Isle is about chaos, sorcery in the Duke's Archive, etc., and on down the line. I want that to be addressed. Like the fact that they added chaos back in, like literally the old chaos in Frozen Aleum Lois. Just makes me think, like, man, like I want those forces to have a little bit more of a front stage.
Yeah,
you know,
miss them
like those
because
implications. And then also the fact that Aldia seems to be a being of chaos, right? Like he is an amalgamation of all of these corrupting forces that we saw in the first game. Like
yeah, branches and fire and the like.
I don't think they made enough hay out of that.
Yeah, agreed. And you don't really, until they bring it back in Frozen Ilium Lois, like you don't really know that you're missing it.
Yeah.
You're dealing with such a copy of a copy of a copy that, like, you know, there's, of course they're very far removed from these original kind of elemental forces.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be nice to kind of get some more connection to that. I agree.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for Dark Souls 3.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
I want to see what it does.
Yeah.
I want to finish this out. I want to do some fun in.
Yeah, let's just fun. You okay?
Yeah, I'm you know, I'm fine.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Don't ask me that.
Sorry, no.
I'm in. I don't lie. We don't need to go.
Yeah. Is this me?
This is you.
Okay. So Joel writes in with some just fun via the contact form. I've been wondering about whether others share an aspect of my experience with the Souls games, wherein I begin playing with the intention of maintaining a totally blind first playthrough, but then overwhelmed either with the difficulty of a certain area or perhaps overcome with curiosity regarding an item's function, I search for hints, inevitably leading to spoilers. I'm conflicted about this because often they lead me down paths that I'm not sure I would have uncovered on my own. But the sense of guilt is somewhat nagging, especially in situations where hints can lead to bigger spoilers than I anticipated. In contrast, I'm not sure these lead to any reduced sense of enjoyment of the game, and a case could be just as easily made that a better grip on the landscape and story can enhance one's experience. I only looked for a few hints in Bloodborne, in contrast to Dark Souls, which was my first game in this series. And one of the things I appreciated at the time was how much of a community effort the game seemed to the game seemed like, both from the wikis outside the game and the soapstone messages in the game.
Yeah. I don't like I just do it as a. So you're right. Like spoilers don't actually, like, scientifically don't matter that much to people.
Can you put a link to that in the show notes? Just
yeah, if I can find it. I've seen it like relinked before, but like there are studies that show that spoilers don't actually impact enjoyment, which I believe. I still try to go in blind because partly for the show, because I don't want to have interpretations color what I'm doing until I'm ready for it. Like I also I don't want someone to tell me something I want to try to figure out on my own. Yeah. But then also, like, my rule is, like, I know I'm going to play these multiple times, see the credits and then read everything you possibly can.
Yeah.
Like, because I know I'm just going to go through it again and actually do the things I missed.
Yeah.
So
I think for me, like, I also agree. Spoilers, whatever. I avoid them out of courtesy because, you know, everybody only gets to experience these things for the first time once. For me, the bigger deal is kind of like the process of playing it is learning the size and shape of the game.
Yeah.
And even like looking at a full list of the area names, even if the names don't mean anything to me, the fact that I will know that there is something called the Duke's Archives. How evocative is the Duke's Archives? Right?
Yeah.
You know, that's an amazing game. Like, I'd rather just kind of like walk into that and like learn the implication of it rather than see that on a flowchart or see it in a map or see it in a table of contents. And so, like, that's not so much a hint, right? Like, that's not telling you how to beat a particular enemy or, you know, showing you like, hey, there's going to be this ambush here, which is the purpose that the soapstones, you know, serve, right? Which is to, you know, to warn you about those things. And the game is designed with that community, you know, approach to it. But yeah, it's kind of those meta things. Like, I don't want to know if I'm about to beat this. You know, or how far I am. Like, I want kind of the natural pacing to like lead me through it and kind of like leave me not knowing what to expect, like of what the next beat of the story is going to be or what the next environment is going to be.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that I don't have as big a problem spoiling mechanical things for myself. If I'm having a really hard time with a boss, I will watch someone beat him. Yeah. You know, and just see that it's possible and see what they're doing. Yeah. I always try it myself. So I get that first blush and I just get the title, like the name, you know, like getting impacted with like, oh, like, again, like, you know, the Duke's Archives, the Duke's Dear Freya, like, is a really evocative name, you know? Yeah. I want that evocative feeling. Yeah. But I just need that first blush. And then I can move on.
That's funny because like I'll watch, it's not just for Souls, but if I'm having trouble in a game, I will watch somebody successfully doing it just so I can walk into it knowing it's possible.
Yeah.
I don't know what the psychology is behind that, but it's a wonderful thing about YouTube.
Yeah, I'll do that too. And I don't get, I don't get that gun shy or pissy about walkthroughs in any other series or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I get stuck and feel frustrated, I'll point myself in the right direction.
Yeah.
Because if that spoils it, like, I mean, there are only certain kinds of games that actually will ruin,
Yeah.
So
at that point, it's what's worse, spoiling this for myself and ruining a little bit of the surprise, or never seeing it,
Yeah. Or resenting it.
Yeah.
Like growing to resent this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and that's more of a line that we use on Watch Out for Fireballs. We haven't said it in a while, but like turn to a walkthrough if it means seeing more of a good game.
Yeah. Yeah. But it also applies to Souls. I just resist. I don't judge anyone else. I don't judge Joel for doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it necessarily will impact your play experience negatively.
Mm-hmm.
I just, for the most part, avoid it. And it's you brought up. I just want to see, the skeleton lords, pop up.
Or to get a text message from me that says, I've seen a boss that will make you just smile with glee.
Yeah, and I told you that the skeleton lords were, like, my friend Levi sent me the thing that said, like, skeleton lords. So I knew skeleton lords were somewhere in the game. And, like, that did have a fun sense of anticipation.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't want that for all the bosses.
Yeah.
So that's what bums me out about, like, achievements being released for games before they come out.
That's easy enough to avoid, though, I think, unless it's in a headline.
It's super easy to avoid, but its only purpose is to ruin that specific evocative feeling, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, it doesn't help to know what the achievements are for a game ahead of time, unless you specifically want to spoil this one thing that's the last thing I want to spoil.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, like, if you do it, you teach your own.
Yeah, I mean, if it gives you motivation to see more of it, I think ultimately something that makes you play more games and play more of the games you play is a good thing. Things that do the opposite are bad things.
Yeah. No. Yeah, thanks, everybody. If you have things to say about Forsaken Castle Canehurst, hit us up at duckfeed.tv/contact.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. What do we do next time?
Forsaken Castle Canehurst.
I'm sorry. I'm sleepy and hungry.
No, I'm sleepy too. It's 7:00 there. So
yeah, that's where I would end up saying we have deleted scenes, but we don't.
No, we don't.
So this is just a standalone episode, like the last one, actually.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
when we talk business during our fun and time. So
yeah, it's one of those things. As we become more business-like, we have to talk about those things.
It's true.
But speaking of that whole thing, thank you so much to everybody who has backed us on Patreon. That number continues to climb with the revamp that we put out. The Slack channel is bumping with talk about Dark Souls. We have some people who are just kind of coming to the series for the first time who are in there, and everybody is jumping on the opportunity to talk to somebody who is experiencing it for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
That is like sucking experience from somebody like a vampire.
Yeah, exactly. Like they've accepted the dark gift. The and also you should note that our Patreon is growing, and we do have kind of some things planned for future milestone goals as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we had this last one for the live show, but we also have ones planned in the future, and they're cool.
Yeah,
and I think you guys will be into them.
Mm-hmm.
So, we just have to work out the logistics because it's complicated. Yeah, if you want to rate and review the show on iTunes, that's a big help. You can blog it or Twitter it or tell people about it. I'm always happy when I see that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if you would consider backing my book on Kickstarter, this is the third episode we recorded today, so I keep doing the spiel, and it's making me feel self-conscious. If you go to duckfeed.tv/Souls of Darkness, you can find a link to it and watch the video, which explains it pretty well. It is a fake Worlds of Power book based as if Dark Souls was a Nintendo game. And I'm pretty close to making my goal. By the time this episode comes out, I might even be there, but I have stretch goals for miles, and all of them are things I really want to do. Kickstarter doesn't allow you to put on stretch goals until you actually make your goal,
which is smart.
Or I would have put these on there, and it would have been, I should have done a penny arcade thing and just $1 for my thing, and then all stretch goals because I'm human garbage. So I decided not to be human garbage and instead be honest about it. But what it means is I can't entice people with these cool things that me and Nick have planned.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like, so if you're kind of curious about that, I will say this as somebody who is not involved with the project. I'm not seeing any of the money. I am not contributing to the work in any way. I'm just tangentially like associated with it. I am a person who backed this just out of wanting to see this thing exist and also wanted to get the cool rewards. So I would encourage you. Well, go ahead.
I'm sorry to cut you off. You are involved in one of the stretch goals.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. But that's more of like a fun thing that I totally want to do. So.
Yeah, we're gonna do a fake episode of Bonfireside Chat on one of the fake areas from the game.
Yep.
Is a stretch goal. So me and Cole talking about Garbage Gulch. which is where the infant mother of all spiders, who holds one of the soul orbs, lives. Of course, you have to collect the 4 soul orbs to get into the cosmic campfire, where the Callow King rests. It's all pretty intense.
Yep. The point remains, though, if you're looking for an outside voice, I am excited about this, not just because Gary is my friend, but because this seems like a really cool thing that I desperately want to exist.
I would have been way into it if I didn't think of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I also had, I've been sitting on this for like 6 months, planning it and working on it and getting the logistics lined up. And I kept being afraid that someone was going to do something similar and steal my thunder. But it's like the PDF copy of the book is $7 and the physical copy is 17, and it comes with a trading card in the middle and stuff. So it's a pretty decent value.
Yeah.
So if you're at all interested in seeing this, definitely check that out.
Yeah.
So Duckfeed.tv /Souls of Darkness.
I encourage you.
What should they do until next time other than that?
They should seek the third way. So the world might be sundered.
Give us your answer.
And we all pray that we will have far more soon